I had to face the male members of my family. We come from Upper Egypt, Said. So these are not easy men that you can convince. They're very progressive for themselves. They like women around them, they like to go out, they like all these kind of things, but they're super conservative with the real women, when it has to do with their women at home, whether it's their wives or children, daughters, and so on. So what I was told bluntly when I decided to enter the WID party, which was a loyal opposition party that you couldn't be scared about, they told me that politics is a man's business. Women have nothing to do with that. Academia is okay. We are proud that you are a professor at AUC, but politics is out of the question. First rebellion, I refused to listen. And I did enter the party, and I was ostracized. You know what it means, ostracized, meaning that most of the family didn't want to talk to me at all, since I entered politics, which was forbidden for women. So I was ostracized by many members of the family, but that was not the end. Inside the party also, I had to fight to be in an advanced position in the slate. You know, the slate is the al-qaima. So to be put on the slate is not enough to be put on the slate. They usually put the women at the end of the slate. So I had to fight to be able to be put in an advanced position. But there was no way. So I used a ruse. You know, women are very clever at that. And I asked one of the elderly men, respectable elderly men, to put his name. And so they put him in an advanced position. Then, before the elections, I came to him and I said, now resign, and say that I will take your place. And this is what happened. And this is how I managed to participate in elections, which is a particularly inspiring, exciting, instructive, everything you can think of in an electoral campaign. Particularly that I was running not in Zamalek or Garden City, but I was running in Zawiya al-Hamra, in Road al-Farag, in everything you can think of that you probably don't know, and that I didn't know either. But I discovered our real Egyptians were there. Those who have the problems, those who can solve them very often on their own, without having to ask, but they fight their way. They are fighters. And Egyptians are fighters, although you see them now, most of them look like Muhammad Ramadan, but not all of them were like that. And at the time, Muhammad Ramadan did not exist, thank God. So as I tell you, the electoral campaign was extremely exciting and illuminating on many aspects. First, I was treated by my fellow companions on the slate, most of them men, as an honorable young gentleman. Meaning what? Meaning that I told them, but I can't go to coffee shops with you. Ahawi, we're not used to that in our tradition. Said, no, since you are with us, since you are in public work, you can. So I enjoyed going to the coffee shops and to play tawla, backgammon, with the people there, and they enjoyed me very much. They never saw that before. Also, I could go to butcher's shops, to small workshops where the people were working, and so on. Things that we are not used to do, you are allowed to do as a public servant. So this is one of the advantages, the other side of the mirror. Once you are in public service, you can afford to enter many places that are not allowed usually, traditionally, to women. To visit butchers, to visit men's workshops in places as popular as Shobra, Road al-Farag. I went to the marketplace. All these are places where women on their own are not allowed really to tread. In Parliament, I had to face the jealousy of my fellow companions, women, men of course, male colleagues, because I could speak 3 languages, they could not. because I felt at home in Parliament, although it was the first time I ever saw Parliament. And whenever they tried to tease me, I would answer with a smile, which of course, when they expected me to attack them and to insult them, I had a smile in order to avoid answering anything. So they tried to prevent me from joining delegations to different countries. But this was to no avail, and in fact, I was decorated in Canada, in Quebec, with the Order of the Pléiade, which they give to French-speaking parliamentarians, which was not the abode of any of the parliamentarians we went out with. Now, while a member of Parliament, I demanded facilities, this is to answer some of the women who were there, I demanded facilities for working women, like day centers, daycare centers, but also to make the tools for the house chores cheaper, affordable, accessible to women. So who was going to do all these chores? If it is accessible, it facilitates the burden that is thrown on women when they come home. I also decided to found an organization to advance education. To me, my main obsession at the time and today and tomorrow is education, and particularly education for girls. And parents must invest for education for girls. This is how a country will advance, otherwise there is no way we can advance if half of the population is illiterate or half of the population has not got the opportunity to get an education, let alone a good education. So I was very lucky to obtain an observer status for my NGO. My NGO was called the Association for the Advancement of Education. I was very lucky to obtain an observer status at the UN only 6 months after I initiated it, because I chose a real, what can I say, a fantastic board, starting with Osama Al-Baz, with Unsi Sawiris, with Mohammed Nasser, and all big names. So, although they didn't do anything, they didn't even pay their quota of £25. But never mind, they gave me their names, and for the UN at the observer status, if all these people, 12 of them, including women like Mushira Isa, like Doreya Sharafuddin, and so on, they gave me the observer status immediately after. In 6 months, I had it when people had to go and do, I don't know, whatever they did in Cyprus to obtain, not to go through the logical and legal channels. So